District Attorney Fani Willis is reaffirming that her office plans to announce charging decisions by September 1st. Willis telling a CNN affiliate over the weekend, quote, "The work is done. We're ready to go." CNN's Sarah Murray, fresh off of her one-hour documentary on this very topic that aired last night live in Atlanta outside Fulton County Courthouse. Murray, what's your sense of things? You've covered this so closely. What's your sense of things right now in terms of timeline when this may actually happen?
Well, good morning, Phil. I still think that we are in the sort of weeks away window rather than the days away window, but it's very clear that preparations are ramping up. You can see behind me that barricades are already starting to go up around the Fulton County Courthouse. Today is the day when much of Willis's team is going to begin to work remotely, another security precaution that they're taking. And our local affiliate, WXIA, caught up with Willis at a back-to-school event over the weekend where she was very clear that the brunt of her work on this case is already done and that people may not be super thrilled with the upcoming charging announcements she has to make. Take a listen.
Some people may not be happy with the decisions that I was making, and sometimes when people are unhappy, they act in a way that could create harm. The work is accomplished. I mean, we've been working for 2.5 years. We're ready to go.
Now, obviously, they're concerned about people who may be unhappy with whatever these charging decisions are, is what's precipitating this enhanced security, and I suspect we're going to see a whole lot more of this in the coming weeks, guys.
Maybe it's just me, but I was surprised to hear the candor there. I mean, she didn't lay out what's going to happen, but what she said, especially in the latter part of the sound that you played, was a bit surprising. I guess we're in that window now, between now and September 1st, right, when she said a charging decision will be made. Any sense of what week, how soon, how close to September, or more like August?
Yeah, I mean, one thing about that interview is she's not saying whether anyone actually is going to face charges. I mean, obviously, we expect that she's going to seek indictments, but we'll see. I still think that we are probably a week or two away from her making whatever these announcements are. There's a hearing in this case on August 10th that has to do with some of the Trump legal team's arguments to disqualify Fani Willis from the case and to throw out a lot of the evidence that she's collected. Frankly, I would be surprised if she decided to press ahead with an indictment before that hearing. Of course, she's the district attorney. It's up to her discretion. But I'm betting we still have a teeny bit of wiggle room, and we're going to see a lot more security between now and when that announcement actually comes, guys.
All right, Sarah Murray live for us outside the Fulton County Courthouse. Thank you.
The property manager who allegedly said the boss wanted the surveillance video servers deleted at Mar-a-Lago, he'll be in a Miami courtroom this morning answering 4 criminal charges. His name, Carlos de Oliveira, is the third person indicted in the classified documents case alongside former President Trump and his valet, Walt Nauta. Prosecutors say de Oliveira met up with Nauta in June of last year to scope out the surveillance cameras around the storage room where the documents were moved in and out. Prosecutors also say de Oliveira then asked a different employee, quote, "What are we going to do about, quote, the boss's request to delete that footage?" And this comes as we wait for more potential indictments against the former president. We are waiting on a charging decision still in the federal investigation into January 6th, and the special counsel's office is getting ready to meet with key witnesses in the fake elector scheme.
And also in Georgia, new security barriers are up outside the Fulton County Courthouse as the district attorney there confirms that by September 1st, she'll decide whether to charge anyone for the efforts by Trump and his allies to overturn the 2020 election.
The work is accomplished. I mean, we've been working for 2.5 years. We're ready to go.
So obviously a question, will this impact the former president's poll numbers? No, at least according to a New York Times Siena College poll out this morning showing 54% of likely Republican primary voters say he's their pick. Let's get things started with Randi Kaye. She's outside the Miami courthouse where we're expecting to see the Mar-a-Lago property manager in just a few hours. Randi, a lot moving here. What are you seeing right now?
Well, right now, we are getting ready for Carlos de Oliveira to make his appearance here in court as this federal case against the former president continues to grow, now involving 2 of the former president's employees. De Oliveira is charged with conspiracy to obstruct justice, making false statements, as well as 2 counts of destroying or concealing an object. All of this happening as the former president continues to deny he did anything wrong.
Donald Trump slamming the special prosecutors team.
These are crooked people.
As he learns of new legal threats he and his employees may face. Newly named co-defendant Mar-a-Lago property manager Carlos de Oliveira is set to be arraigned today in Miami. A superseding indictment alleges he, along with Trump aide Walt Nauta, attempted to delete security camera footage at the club after the Justice Department issued a subpoena for it. According to the indictment, de Oliveira told one of the resort's IT workers the boss wanted the server deleted. CNN has now learned that IT worker, Yuscil Taveras, has received a target letter from federal prosecutors. Taveras reportedly met with investigators after Trump's first indictment in June. It's unclear if he's cooperating with the investigation, but sources say some of the new allegations against Trump were based, at least in part, on information Taveras provided. Trump, facing additional charges for mishandling classified documents, maintained his innocence on social media, claiming his legal team voluntarily handed over the tapes to the special counsel and that he never told anybody to delete them. De Oliveira is separately charged with lying to the FBI about moving boxes of documents from Trump's residence to a storage room.
This is bad stuff. And, you can't say there was no underlying potential crime here.
The superseding indictment giving Trump's opponents an opportunity to go after the frontrunner.
It's pretty brazen. These guys were acting like the Corleones with no experience.
Other candidates treading more cautiously over the indictment as Trump remains popular with the GOP base.
None of us want to be talking about indictments. I don't even know if it's the third, fourth, or fifth indictment right now, but what I can tell you is it's a distraction.
Most use the issue to steer the conversation to the future.
One of the right ways to do that is to pardon the former president of the United States from what is clearly a politicized prosecution.
Even Trump's top rival, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, wary of engaging.
I want to spend less time litigating that because that's really looking in the past and more time focusing on the future in terms of what we need to accomplish as a country.
At a GOP party dinner in Iowa, direct criticism of Trump drew a rebuke from the audience.
Donald Trump is running to stay out of prison. And if we elect, I know the truth is hard.
Closing out the dinner, Trump steered clear of the new charges against him.
If I weren't running, I would have nobody coming after me.
And De Oliveira will appear here in court today with John Irving. He is a D.C.-based attorney. De Oliveira will need a Florida-based attorney to enter a plea. We don't know if he does have that Florida attorney secured. Of course, this is being closely watched because if he doesn't, his case will be delayed. And of course, we're trying to figure out whether or not the former president will go to trial in this case before the election cycle. That is certainly being closely watched. Back to you.
Randy Kay, thank you for the reporting from Miami.